YouTube, it's me, Berkey, and I'm here with my wrap-up for the magical read-a-thon, Christmas at Hogwarts. So, I did not read technically what I planned to read, what I told you guys in my TBR video. But I was able to finagle what I did read during that week to fit the different prompts. So I did technically succeed in finishing this read-a-thon, so I'm very proud of myself. So let me get into the books that I read. So the first prompt was finish your coursework, so finish your current read, and I did that with The Cuckoos Calling by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling. I thought this was a pretty good mystery novel, or detective crime novel. It's much better than The Casual Vacancy by her, which I actually DNF'd. I do plan on reading it at some point, but this was actually really, really interesting, I thought. I really liked the characters in it. The main mystery or crime thing that they were trying to solve was kind of typical, but I thought it was done in a kind of gripping way. I wouldn't necessarily say unique, but it was gripping. The only thing that I found at fault with this book is that it kind of relied on stereotypes of different groups of people too much, and I'm not sure necessarily if that's a really bad thing because stereotypes and whatnot, or if it's kind of more realistic because people do kind of fall into stereotypes sometimes. So I'm not sure, but I did end up giving this a B. I do plan on continuing with this series at some point, but I'm not going to run out and get the second book now. But I did give this a B or a 4 out of 5 stars. So then the next prompt I decided to go for was have a snowball fight with the Weasley Twins or read a book that you think will be humorous. And for that I did go with Armada by Ernest Cline. I will say it wasn't as funny as Ready Player One, and I don't know if I enjoyed this as much as Ready Player One. It might have just been because of the mood I was in when I was reading it, and the fact that I kept on like picking it up and putting it down and just like jumping in and out of the story. So I will say that it wasn't my favorite, but then again, I'll definitely try reading it again when I'm in a better headspace in order to see if it was just me during that time when I was reading it or if it was actually the book. And actually, it wasn't that humorous. It was actually very dark. In this book, we kind of see a first contact with aliens kind of story, and it gets pretty sad. I will not spoil it. I'll just give you that. And it is based on a lot of like science fiction movies or alien video games and that kind of stuff, which was interesting and kind of reminiscent of what he did in Ready Player One, but this again was a lot darker than Ready Player One. I still kind of enjoyed it, and I again do plan on rereading it to see if I liked it better than the second time around, because I'm in a better headspace. But for now, I gave this a C+ or a 3 out of 5 stars. So the third prompt was to visit the Three Broomsticks for mulled pixie wine, and that meant to read a book that would only take you a day or an evening. Now I could pick two, and I actually read both of these in one day, but I'm going to go with the shorter one because the other book can kind of go for another prompt. So the one book that I read in a day, in like 5 minutes, was We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Now this, like her Dear Ijawale, is just a very basic introduction to feminism. I think if you don't know anything about feminism, this is a good place to start. But that being said, I don't agree with all of her points that she made, but it is still a good introduction, I think, into the topic, and is done in an easy to understand way, although I will say that I did not like the formatting of this book, but that might just be because it is based on a TED Talk that Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie had done, so it's not as cohesive as an actual written narrative. But yeah, it was okay. I gave it a C+ again, or a 3 out of 5 stars, and if you don't know anything about the topic, this is a good place to start. Now, the other book that I read in one day, I'm using for the fourth prompt, which is to attend a Yule Ball or read a book you've been preparing yourself for. So that book is Map of Fates by Maggie Hall. This is the second book in the Conspiracy of Us series by her. And I'm using this as a prepared book because I had to look at the first book's like summary before I jumped into this. And actually in this I'm going to also include The Ends of the World, which is the third book, because I actually read both of these in a span of 2 days because I was obsessed. They were so easy to read. They were cheesy. Don't expect it not to be, but it was still very gripping, and like I fell in love with it. So I gave both of these a variation of a B, I think. Yeah, I gave this one a B minus, this one a B. I did think that towards the end it was kind of tedious a little bit because it was kind of all coming together a little too nicely, and it was predictable. But again, that being said, I love the characters, I love the romance in here, and I loved just I went through it quickly, and I really needed that. I wanted to get a whole bunch of books read, and this definitely achieved that. So yeah, if you enjoyed Dan Brown's Robert Langdon series, but you wanted something a little bit easier to read, if you know what I'm saying, a lot less suspenseful and a lot less of a reading level, I guess. I don't know, I'm not describing it right, but this is a good series for you to read. It's not as great as the Robert Langdon series, but what it is a YA version of it that is easy to go through. And for those reasons, I really like them. And again, I said I gave them variants of a B or a 4 out of 5 stars. The final prompt I'm choosing is not the one that I said I was going to use in my TBR video. Instead, I'm using Bring a Festive Treat to Hedwig at the Owlery, or read an animal on the cover, or read a book that has an animal on the cover or in the title or in the series name. Now, I'm going to be using The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs, A New History of a Lost World by Steve Brusatte, because dinosaurs are animals. And this is the only way I could achieve this read-a-thon, be successful at this read-a-thon, because this also took me a long time to read, so I don't feel too bad including this as the last prompt, even though I had started reading this before the read-a-thon actually started. It was very slow to get through because it's nonfiction. It's not necessarily as gripping or as like easy to read as like these books were. But that being said, it was quite interesting to have like a comprehensive history of the time of the dinosaurs. But I will say, I wish there were more figures or pictures that went along with what was being talked about, because the pictures included were not very helpful and did not really mesh well with the story being told. It was more so, oh, the author is here in this one site digging something. And I mean, that's interesting and cool and stuff, don't get me wrong, but I would like to see like more pictures of or renderings of the dinosaurs being talked about, so that way I can actually visualize what they look like. And also, I didn't really learn much more from this book. I already knew that dinosaurs, or a lot of different, most dinosaurs had feathers, so that wasn't really new to me. And other than that, it was mostly just like a lot of like evolutionary stuff, which is not unique to the dinosaurs, and there were not really any unique aspects of evolution brought up in here. So it was enjoyable. I gave it a B minus or a 4 out of 5 stars, but it wasn't anything mind-blowing, which is a shame. But I do like the cover because it has dinosaurs on it. But yeah, so those are all the books that I read for this read-a-thon. I ended up reading 6, which I'm pretty proud of, because I really did not finish reading any books in December at all until literally Christmas Eve, Christmas, and Boxing Day. So yeah, I was pretty proud to get these books done all at that time, really. And it brought my reading goal up. Not as far as I wanted to, but I mean, my goal at the moment is unrealistic. But I'm really glad that I read these books. Let me know if you guys have read any of these books or what you read to complete the magical read-a-thon Christmas at Hogwarts. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!